there's such a tendency to grab and want in the mind for answers, to have the ego satisfied in wanting to know something and understand something, that we've got a very specific remit with this show, Live ACIM, is to keep relaxing back from that tendency in the mind. And I'm aware it springs in the truest sense from devotion, and yet it can derail our experience to such an extent that our devotion is set with the stepping back and the sinking into the not knowing and the not needing to understand. And I would say that's my definition of prayer or joining with people, is to step back into that state of mind and be shown. And we really want to make ourselves available to be shown. And that's how we experience ourselves, as known in truth. So it feels very important that anytime you find that tendency reaching out or grabbing or wanting to understand or even get clear on what I'm sharing, you can relax back, just close your eyes, just release into what the Spirit is really inviting us into, which is a unified experience of not knowing and not needing to understand, but sinking into the love and the being cared for, which is what guidance is truly for. And that's our natural state. And from there, everything that needs to be in awareness becomes brilliantly clear in your own experience, in your own experience of your own mind, in a way you can intimately understand it. And so we surrender once more to the Holy Spirit being the teacher, and the Holy Spirit making clear in your own mind what it is you need to see today, what's truly helpful for you. And other than that, it's really about coming and having some respite from the world, from the worldly thinking, from your ideas of your sense of self or what you expect from yourself. And so we can start with an open prayer of relinquishing anything we hope to get, even clarity, if we hope to get it from this meeting. And I join you in that prayer. Clarity is, it just extends. Truth is, it extends. And the invitation today is to welcome reality exactly as it is, to notice our preferences, to notice what comes across in a day as we speak, what comes across as we ask a question, what comes across us and we notice judgments and thoughts and beliefs and desires. We notice the perceptual world, and we notice us and them, and we're being invited to step back beyond that into a state of watching and being passers-by. So we're going to keep that orientation very, very clear as we go. And the trust is that it's safe to relax into that state of not knowing and not needing to understand, and we will be shown. So anytime you feel a contraction or a tension in your body, you can just rest back. And anytime you have a thought like, what was that? Or what was that quote? You can just rest and relax back and take the spirit of what was said, knowing that there's a replay where you can look it up and it'll be annotated at the bottom. So just again, it's about sinking into the experience together and not trying to grab or get anything from our joining today. It's very much a gift. You have so much to give. There's so much presence you're extending in this moment. There is so much love that's an extension through you simply by your having shown up, whatever state of mind or feelings you were having before you pressed play here. It doesn't matter. Your showing up is the gift. Your showing up is the welcome to love's presence in your own awareness. And we're all in receipt of it. And we're very glad you came. Because we're all in this together. And awakening is a collaborative adventure. And you can't go home alone. You go 2 by 2 into the ark. A time-saving device has been given to us. A holy relationship has been offered. A way in which to see often who you are not mirrored in your brother and sister, so that you can take back the projection and take back the judgment that you would have on them or yourself, and see that none of it is who you are and none of it has ever been true. So this is not an advantageous moving, progressing, trying. This is very much a sinking back into what already is. Just accepting. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let me accept the atonement. Oh, yes, thank you very much for the gift. If there's any efforting, if there's any sense of future gain, if there's any sense of time and moving and progression, then we're lost to this present moment. And our orientation as a group is to be very much those mighty companions devoted to this present moment inspiration and trust, because trust would settle every problem now. It would settle every worry, every thought of, I don't think my question got answered. It would settle any of the doubt thoughts you have against yourself or the world, that it isn't already perfectly set up as a reflective device to show you what's going on in your own mind. It's really their mind, but while you experience it as personal, it matters what thoughts are there. It matters what feelings you're having. It matters what beliefs you start to notice, and it really matters what desire is on your heart that is other than the peace of God. Because with the peace of God as my one goal, I really come into an experience that everything else is contained within that choice. If you're choosing just 2 hours sleep instead of the peace of God, if the prayer of your heart is, I just want 2 hours sleep, then you're asking too little. And it's very hard for everything that's your inheritance to be given in your awareness to you. And so our prayer, no matter what seems to be the one small thing we believe we need for peace, our larger prayer must be, the peace of God is my one goal. And to sink into trusting that it contains everything you could ever want. The 2 hours sleep, the 8 hours sleep, the paycheck when you needed it, the mortgage paid. All these things in form that distract you. These are really doubt thoughts, lack thoughts in your mind. They're only reflections of what the true disturbance is and what the belief in lack or the belief in sacrifice is showing up as. And so you don't want to either deny the seeming need, you want to just utilize it on behalf of awakening by offering that desire to have that need in form met, by offering it to the Spirit to show you that your focus on the need, what it's distracting you from in your own mind. So we want to sink back again into getting really clear on the metaphysics of A Course in Miracles, this non-dual path that we all follow, and what it's truly saying. I am responsible for what I see. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. And so, a bit like a nurse in a triage unit in an ER, it's a debrisement that we're going through, where we're picking off all the shards of glass and beliefs and desires that are truly an attack thought. And even though they can't really do this, they seem to be attacking our invulnerability in our awareness. And so we want to go through this debrisement very gently with the Spirit. And the first step in that debrisement is, ow, ow, it hurts. You must rush with an open heart to the Spirit as soon as something hurts and ask for help in seeing it differently. And while the great Comforter will bring you peace in the moment and relief from the intensity you're feeling, the debrisement can then begin to look at the mind and the beliefs and the desires that are in operation that you're clinging to. Because it has to be a voluntarily letting go. It has to be a voluntary letting go and release from these beliefs and desires. We're only holding them in awareness because we genuinely believe they keep us safe. So how could you let go of anything you think keeps you safe? You must first question it. You must first look at it. You must first have a reality check with the Spirit. And so even though there seems to be steps in what I'm sharing. The most important thing is becoming aware of how you feel. And when it's anything but blissful, simply going out and asking for help, leaning in to the Holy Spirit, cuddling up to the one who knows what's best for all in every circumstance, and relaxing into the safety in your mind that even though it seems like the distress is coming from the form outside and the stories and the interpretations, it's actually coming from a belief and a desire that I am holding in the mind that is not for me, that is not pro-peace, that is in some way threatening my existence as a little personality sense of self, even though I think it's also establishing it. So you start to begin to experience that the beliefs you're holding are the source of all pain you're experiencing. And when you notice these conflicting beliefs and you notice these conflicting desires, then you can very easily trust, and this is the development of trust, that every time you go to the Spirit saying, there must be a conflict because I don't feel good. And even though you've rushed there talking about the dog that bit you or the day that you've had, there's no problem with that. You can begin there because you need to snuggle up and know you're loved. It must orientate to wanting to take total responsibility for sight, because that's where happiness is. It doesn't lie anywhere else. Happiness is in total responsibility for sight because you're already aware you're mistaken. So it's no harm or harshness to you to go, I must be totally mistaken. I really want to hear what you have to say, Holy Spirit. There's no defensiveness. It's like, I just don't like how I feel. I really, really want to hear what you have to say to me. I'm wide open because I also know you can bring it to me in a way that is gentle and you comforting and doesn't, trigger the ego even higher into defensiveness. You're coming with the trust that this is the master comforter who knows exactly how to speak to you, that will relax and relieve you of all the things you're carrying that are not your function, all the false responsibilities of the day, all the roles, all the misunderstandings of even what's being asked of you through guidance. And you can get clear. And clarity feels amazing. And in the beginning, it's a little toe stubbing to have the correction in place, but that's only to the ego. Oh, you start to love correction. And you want to snuggle in there and you just want to be told all about it, how you were mistaken, because it means relief and joy and a restoration of awareness of the truth of who you are. So there's no part of you fighting that. You're like, bring it on, bring it on. It's like a love bath. I want to hear all about what's the correction. Oh, it's more like a cat being stroked. This correction is like, oh no. You know what that unfolded was you were operating from guilt, do you see? You misunderstood yourself. You misremembered yourself. You thought you had to try harder and do more. You thought you'd never please those people. It's like, oh no, that's not the way. And that's what correction will feel like once you get over the little toe stubbing at the beginning, where the ego doesn't like any idea that it's not right, because its entire sense of safety has been dependent on being right, knowing something, and understanding how things work. But for the holy child of God, none of that is necessary, and in fact, it's a block. This is the literal block to the awareness of love's presence. This participant self, this interactor who thinks it's becoming something different to what it was before, instead of you, the one watching, just loving on this little one that's trying so hard, forgiving all of the missteps that you're seeing, and simply allowing the character to play through so that it can perform like all of the characters on the screen in this great play of awakening. This play of awakening is just for you, the one watching, to help you wake up, to see that you're none of the characters, to see the impossibility of sin, the impossibility of separation, the impossibility of an unhappy dream. And once you become convinced, and that time is set, not on a timeline, but it is set in this holy instant of return to awareness, this return to innocence, like the song says. Once your set devotion is on the holy instant, at any moment you can relinquish all other motivations for your being or doing or even your listening. And so I like to start with what is. This was more like a brief introduction so that everyone's clear again on the metaphysics, because we come and go from pathways at times and we introduce other pathways, and sometimes it can get a little confusing in our mind. And I felt to orientate to the purity of what Live ACIM is reinforcing the teachings of the Holy Spirit from A Course in Miracles with those metaphysics and that simplicity and that clarity. And the difference between A Course in Miracles and other non-dual paths is the role of the comforter, is having one to go to lean in and lean on in that very little creature self way, and to be shown. It's having the master teacher inside you at all times. And Jesus was very clear with us when we were setting up ACIM Live that it was to be about presence and not personality. And so I'm merely here as a vehicle and as a conduit for focusing the mind on the simplicity of salvation, and that it's already been done for us, and that our only function is acceptance of forgiveness. There's so many people running around trying to do forgiveness, and the Course only asks and invites us to accept that everything is already forgiven. Everything. And I can't think of anything I'd rather share with anyone again and again and again for myself. That acceptance is my function. That it's all done. That it worked out great. That there isn't anything I could do to improve the way things unfold, nor is there anything I could do to mess it up. I couldn't think of anything I'd rather spend my life saying. Until it becomes so funny to even speak the words.